He told me he needed a place to stay for the night. He had some sort of falling out with one of his crew members or whatever, and I was very clear about the fact that we are not hooking up.
I had hooked up with Andrew previously. He creeped me out, made me feel weird, was mean, demanding.
He gets in my bed and wears me down to the point where I eventually do agree to do things that I wasn't proud of.
He invited me to go out to dinner so he could apologize.
And I wasn't proud of them and thought it was my fault for so long that I continued to be nice to him after the situation. He wouldn't leave my house the next morning.
I told him I would take him home because he lived close by, but that I did not want to have sex in my car at all. I did not want to have sex with him again.
I told him no so many times prior to this. I said, I'm tired, I'm not really feeling it. I came up with any excuse that I possibly could to just get him off of me. And he still found a way to coerce me into things that I didn't want to do.
After we got to my car, he started advancing towards me, started touching my inner thigh, pulled me forward, and started kissing my neck. So I really couldn't move out of the position. He proceeded to put his hand down my pants. I told him to stop. I told him to get off of me multiple times.
And this is really hard for me to say. I never thought I would come forward, but it's even more hard to have to relive the trauma that I endured every single day by seeing this man as a social justice warrior, as someone who cares about human rights, get a platform.
This happens as a consequence of, one, the ways that everyone is taught on how gender dynamics are supposed to work, even though it is literally wrong, okay? It's a product of the patriarchy. It is social conditioning.
No, this isn't the time to push an agenda and blame society. It's important to note that these are just claims, although I do think they should be considered seriously. If the accusations are true, then Andrew Callaghan would be fully responsible. It's like, well, with the patriarchy involved, how can we expect people like Andrew Callaghan to not do this? But Andrew postured himself as a progressive who cares about human rights. Or, at the very least, he benefited from people perceiving him that way. And given the fact he's become a huge political icon in the media, he's the first person who should know not to do this. When Hasan brings this up in this way, it comes off as more of an excuse than an explanation.
Go ahead and explain how I didn't do an adequate job talking about systemic reasons as to why this sort of thing happens, how likely this sort of thing is, and talk about how the trauma of the victim in this circumstance is the utmost important thing.
So, addressing everything pertaining to the situation except for Andrew himself. If Hasan believes the victims, which he says he does, then where's the outrage at Andrew? If you blame every environmental factor instead of Andrew, then he's never going to learn. And if he's doing the things people are accusing him of, then this is a course of behavior that needs to be addressed and changed, not excused for the sake of an agenda.
What you also always need to take into consideration is that this is not just happening on Twitch, or this is not just happening in this circle. It's happening it's happening in every circle, in every facet of existence.
So what, we need to consider societal factors except when it's a part of your community? What a ridiculous way to dismiss responsibility. It doesn't help anyone or anything by saying, oh, well, this just happens a lot. It's just a very commonplace thing and it's just a part of society.
Of course it's incredibly common.
If there are contributing societal factors, how are we supposed to identify them if we can't even point at the community that Andrew is in?
I've been wanting to make this video for a while now, and now that the investigation is over, I would like to address my embarrassing comeback stream in October. My behavior on that stream was absolutely unacceptable.
This trend of people taking a couple months off after they did something heinous instead of addressing it is sickening. If you want to talk about societal factors and differences, then there it is. Most people, after doing something horrible, don't have the luxury of taking a vacation and hoping people forget. This is a position of power that internet fame has afforded Andrew. And, like in many situations where celebrities manage to get away with this kind of stuff for years, we have no idea just how common of a pattern of behavior this is for Andrew in particular. If he wasn't in the position he's in, would he have had a better chance to change his behavior earlier on? Because if celebrities are able to leverage their fame instead of take responsibility, then how can we expect their behavior to change? I understand the goal of cancel culture is to hold people accountable, but it doesn't seem to actually help us gain any real understanding of how to fix the problem. If anything, it seems to make people more cautious when they're set on their vile behavior. I mean, when somebody is capable of doing something like this, I don't think they're concerned about perceptions of morality. I mean, sure, when it finally actually affects their career, they'll start to care, but that's long after they've already done this who knows how many times. Since it is a bit outlandish to expect perpetrators to be honest, I think the best question is to ask, how could have this been prevented? Could it just take some more parental focus on how to treat women properly? Is there something celebrities could do to shield themselves from the corruption of fame? But Andrew's actions are nobody else's but his own. I should reiterate that there is no hard evidence against Andrew, but there rarely is in situations like this. And it's hard to ignore the greater pattern of this behavior on sites like Twitch, which makes it really weird when people like Hasan implore their audience not to consider that side of things.
What you also always need to take into consideration is that this is not just happening on Twitch, or this is not just happening in this circle. Continue doing propaganda.
We need to do better than to treat these situations like propaganda vehicles for our own political agendas. If we want to take this problem seriously, we're going to have to do better than pointing the finger at the patriarchy. Alright, that's going to have to do it for this one. Shout out to the best subscriber squad in all of YouTube. I hope everyone has a wonderful day.
The people have already spoken. If you did not want me here, you had your chance to get rid of me. Okay? You had your chance. Let's give you another chance in November.